Hi, how are you tonight? My name's Roberta Colasino, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator here in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, but currently coming to you from Pompano Beach, Florida. So I hope everyone is doing well tonight, and if you're not catching me live, I hope you're catching me on the replay. Today, oh good, there I am. Just have to check because you just never know. All right, today we are going to be playing with the For the Books set. It's a bundle, and it's really cute. I think when I first saw it, I fell in love with it just because it was books, and I love books. But I found myself wondering what I could do with it. And then all of a sudden, I found myself with a zillion ideas about what I could do with it. Unfortunately, I can't show you a zillion ideas tonight, but I can show you some, and then you can take it from there. All right, so I will turn the camera down so we can get started right away. Just want to get out a couple of things here and sort of get ready. Let's see. All right, here we go. Hello, Debbie, how are you? Nice to see you. I'm glad you're joining us tonight. All right, hang on just a second, and that actually looks semi-okay. I can live with that. All right, so February really is almost over. I always forget about how short a month February is, and then all of a sudden I'm caught by surprise when it's suddenly not February anymore. But it is very important for me to mention, use the host code if you place an order in February, and I'm hoping that you do. All right, I'll leave this here for a couple of minutes so you can see it. The reason I'm hoping that you do is as much for your sake as for mine, because Celebration ends on February 28th, and today's the 26th, right? So that's in 2 days. Celebration ends. And not only are all of these things available that I showed you last week, but I did forget to mention last week that Stampin' Up! Has added some extra things to Celebration. So for the most part, they are things that are currently in the catalogs, but now they're available for you to get possibly for free with a $60 or a $120 purchase. Unfortunately, because I have to use my iPad to do this video with, whereas I normally use my computer to look at, I cannot show you those things just yet, but I can certainly post a link to them. But basically, if you go to my store, there should be a link for Celebration, or if you just type in the search bar Celebration, it will show you the new things that are available. So with a $60 purchase before shipping and handling, you can get a free level 1 item. So that would be this Documenting the Day set. And here we go. This Rainbow Celebration kit, which is really neat. I like the idea of having a kit as something that you can get for free. This fruit salad paper, which apparently has been the #1 most popular thing out of the Celebration catalog so far. And I thought it was adorable myself. So, and then there's the Friendly Seagulls, which I didn't think I needed, and I got it, and I have barely used it. And that, unfortunately, is something that seems to happen to me every year. All right, so those are all free with a $60 purchase. This Day to Celebrate set is free with a $60 purchase, as is this really adorable toadstool paper. And the reason the toadstool paper is kind of cool is that in the mini catalog, there's actually a toadstool stamp set, my goodness. So this paper would go really beautifully with that if you're into toadstools. I know it's not everybody's jam, but you know, hey. And then this one is called Pick a Season, and it's just really cute. It's a tree with spaces left in it where you can put flowers in, you can put hearts in, you can put some leaves, you can put Easter eggs, and you can put flowers in. So you can use this for any season at all, and I love things like that. Oh, and this Dance With Me. So if you're into dancing, then this is really a cool stamp set as well. And this paper, which is really, really pretty, that is also free with a $60 purchase. And yeah, on the next page now we're talking about getting a whole bundle for free with a $120 purchase. And remember too that Celebration is a super time if you're a crafter to stock up on things like glue and inks and re-inkers, and a time to stock up on your card stocks. So don't think of it as just a time to buy stamp sets and things like that. You can stock up on the things that you use the most and then get those things at a good price. All right, so Corner in Bloom, that's another really cool one. That's with a $120 purchase. And then please do not forget that during Celebration, we always have a fantastic offer to join my team. So during Celebration, you have one option, and that is to choose two marker sets from the Stampin' Write, okay? You'll also get this stamp set, which is exclusively designed just for Celebration. You'll get that for free. So these markers, there will be 5 of those or 6 of those. 5 of the regular color families and then 1 of the in color, but you get to choose any 2 that you want. If you don't want any of that stuff, doesn't matter. What happens then is you say, well, I really don't want those 2 things, but I still want to join your team. So now, in addition to getting $125 worth of product for $99, you can add another $30 in free products, okay? So $155 in free products. Math is not my thing, I've told you that. So $125 and $30, you can get that much in free products. So that's kind of amazing. And then for however long you choose to be a demonstrator, you get a 20% discount on everything you buy. So you have 3 months to decide if this is really something you want to do or not. You can be a hobby demonstrator, which means basically you're just supporting your own habit. You're buying things that you can use in your crafting. If you choose to do something like have parties on occasion or invite family members to purchase things from you, that's great. You absolutely do not have to make videos like I do. You do not have to teach classes like I do. You don't have to do any of that stuff to be what's called a hobby demonstrator, or some people call them a discount shopper. So this is For the Books stamp set, and it looks kind of sparse, and you think to yourself, well, you know, those sentiments, I don't know. I'll admit I thought they were a little bit weird, although I did like the From the Library of, for me to stamp inside of books that I intend to keep, you know, like forever pretty much. And then the stamps, again, because I like books, I just thought they were cute. And then there are some dies, and I'll show you about the dies because they're a little different as well. All right, so we will get going, and we will start with what I think, anyway, is the simplest of the 3 cards we're going to be making tonight. And then there's kind of a bonus item that we're making. So last week we used a set that had a birthday sentiment, a really nice cursive birthday. This one is the one that I used 2 weeks ago that has happy birthday. And the reason we're not using the other one is because I lost the word birthday. I lost that stamp. And I really searched for it. Usually those things do turn up, but I've taken out the garbage not once but twice since then. And that makes me nervous. These photopolymer stamps are see-through, and it's so easy to just, you know, brush them off the side of the table or have them get stuck to something that ends up in the trash or whatever. Okay, so we're just using the happy birthday sentiment out of here, and that's it. We've got a Night of Navy card base that is 8.5 by 5 1/4, no, 8.5 by 5 1/2, scored at 4 1/4. Okay, so that makes up our card base. Then we have got this paper, which was one of those online exclusives where Stampin' Up! Took some paper that we had in the past and recolored it. So they just made it look totally different, so you wouldn't even realize it was the same thing. At first I thought this was black and white, but upon closer glance it was actually Night of Navy. So we have Night of Navy there. I have a piece of that that is 4 by 5 1/4, and then our liner piece. Okay, and then I took some of the stamps, and that is, I don't know what I did with the actual stamp set. It's probably buried someplace. Yep, here it is. Okay, so this stamp here, which looks like the book should be standing up, but I'm going to be doing something a little bit different with them, which is the other thing that I like about this stamp set, is it's very versatile. You can decide how to use it. So I did 3 of these. The dies do not cut these out, so yes, I had to fussy cut them, but they're very easy to fussy cut. I know you hear me say that all the time, but I mean it really. And then I took a Night of Navy strip that is, it's not quite 2 inches, I think it's 1 7/8 by 5 inches. All right, and basically I want that to go Oh, it is going here. I just left it so that I would have to cut it off. Geez, I scared myself for a second there. All right, so I'll show you what we're going to do with this. Okay, I'm going to leave this out for a couple of minutes because we are going to need that. I'm going to glue this onto here. And this is such pretty paper. And then you've got the plain old stripe on the back. So, you know, you've got feminine card here, masculine card there. So we're just going to put that on. I don't think there's any right side or wrong side up for this because the flowers seem to go in all kinds of directions. So I think you're safe no matter what you do. I like patterns like that where you're safe no matter what you do. All right, and then my intention was for this to go right across here. All right, so I'm going to glue it on. It's going to go from edge to edge, and then I'll turn it over and I'll cut it. And I think it's going to be about even as far as how much space is there. I went ahead and did this because last week my Versamark pad really needed re-inking, and apparently I did not bring the Versamark re-inker, so I wanted to put the pad upside down for a while and really make sure that I had it inked up very well. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put that down. I don't want to go all the way to the end because I know I'm cutting some off. So what I'll do is I'll put a little extra over here just to kind of get me to the end. I'm going to put this, what would you call this, maybe 2/3 of the way down. Actually, I think I almost want to put it a tiny bit lower. Okay, try to get that even. Looks pretty good. Okay, definitely though seems like it wants a little more glue there. So let's give it some more glue. I am a firm believer that if you don't really press the thing down well, the two pieces of paper and the glue somehow don't necessarily meld together. Ooh, and I got some icky glue there, so I'm going to get my Teflon scissors. These are just by Fiskars, and you can pick those up anywhere. They even have like a kid's version of them with the rounded point, the rounded points. If it's round, it's not a point, right? With the rounded tips. All right, the only problem is that these scissors are not as good as my regular snips, so. Okay, and then I'm just going to put that in the garbage before it gets stuck to something. And I'm going to take a baby wipe and clean that off before I end up with something stuck to something that I don't want it stuck to. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of dry that off a little bit because I don't want my stuff getting wet. Okay, so this idea for the card, to be very honest, was inspired by a card from a different company that also made a book stamp. A little bit different than this book stamp, but still a book stamp. So I basically just kind of sort of copied their idea and just changed a couple of things. They had a much different sentiment here. I purposely chose Happy Birthday as opposed to one of the sentiments in the set because it just sort of seems to me that you can use this for anything. So again, you're thinking, what do books have to do with birthdays? Well, first of all, you could be giving the person a book for their birthday, correct? That's first of all. Or if you just have a friend who's a bit of a bookworm, I am certainly a bookworm. My daughter has become a bookworm. So this would be a great card to give to anyone who you know loves books. So I was thinking, which one is this? I wasn't sure if I wanted to pop them all up or not. Maybe I'll pop up the two ends and glue down the one that's in the middle. I don't know. We'll see what I think it looks like, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So I understand that you folks up north are having what amounts to a heat wave. I know that's a little funny because it's really not, but when you've been having weather in the teens and the 20s and in a couple of cases even below 0, and it suddenly goes up to 40, and I think someone said in a couple of areas in upstate New York it actually hit 50 yesterday. Is that true? Then I guess all of a sudden you're feeling like, hey, that's not bad at all. Okay, so I'm going to put that one up. Yep, I think that'll be okay glued down. And of course, if and when you make this card or one similar to it, you can do that however you would like. All right, I think I want to kind of keep flipping them a little bit though. So that one will go there. And then the next one will get glued, or get popped up, sorry. Right thought, wrong words. Anybody else have that issue sometimes? So it definitely hasn't, well, okay, I feel like it hasn't been swimming weather. There have been people in the pool. But for me, it hasn't really been swimming weather. I don't like bath water, but I don't like to go into shock when I get in the pool either. So I like a happy medium. I like it to be refreshing, but I definitely don't want to be shocked when I get in the pool. Okay, I'm seeing a little, there we go. All right, so, oh, that's a little cockeyed. There we go. So just happy birthday. Simple as that. And like I said, this would be great if you were giving someone a book. It would be a great card to go with Blind Date with a Book. And I'm just going to bounce the idea off of you guys, but I am very seriously considering doing some Blind Date with a Book myself, where I would sell those. And because they're so expensive online, especially if they have to be shipped. So if I could find customers in my local area, either local to me here in Florida when I'm here, or local to me at home in New York when I'm there, I think it would be kind of cool to do some of those. I know a lot of the people who do Blind Date with a Book also do it so that it is, what am I trying to say? So the books are used, gently used, and I will tell you from my own experience, because I'm a book lover, I don't like a book. I don't even like to take a book out of the library that looks like it's been manhandled. It's not my thing. So when I say gently used, I really do mean gently used, practically new, very good condition. Okay, so now what I think I'm going to do is we certainly want to do something on the inside there. I could just stamp on the inside, and I think I'll do that because it would just, seems to me it'll be simpler. And I'll use the other book stamp, the one that's slightly larger, that I haven't used before. And I'll just get that on a block. And I've been stamping in basic gray, but I've got basic gray buried in the bottom of another bin for another card that I'm making. So I'm going to use Smoky Slate. I don't think it matters all that much. Hoping that my Smoky Slate is well inked though. Alright, I'm just going to put it down in the lower corner here. There we go. Actually, that came out pretty dark. That's good. I'm fine with that. So Smoky Slate, yes, Smoky Slate. My goodness. And I don't want to take too much time about this, but I will duplicate some of the colors that I used on the cover. So I know that I used Petunia Pop at one point, so I'll do that again. I'll take the dark Petunia Pop and just go over those little lines on the binding, and boy did I go out of the line there. And then I'll take the light Petunia Pop and go over the whole thing. I'm literally like 2 feet away from the card that I'm coloring, which is why it's not easy to do this. With this setup here, I honestly can't pull my chair up too close because then I hit the tripod. And at home in New York, that's not an issue because the setup is just different. But here, I just really couldn't duplicate that. So it is a little weird. And then I'm just going to take the dark again and just darken those lines up a tiny bit more just to make them stand out as being a little bit different. These little rubber bands, somebody had asked me, I got them at the dollar store, and they're like little ponytail rubber bands. They come, I think I put them in this bag, but they come in a package like that, a bunch of different colors. So sometimes you can sort of match the colors to the blends. I will say, however, they break and stretch out pretty easily. So, you know, I don't know, I want to have a lot of them on hand. Let's put it that way. Okay, so now I've got Night of Navy, and I'm going to do the dark section, or the center section here in the dark Night of Navy. This never made a whole lot of sense to me, but they've got dark Night of Navy and light Night of Navy, and I don't really know what light navy blue would look like. Just, it's for the purpose of shading, you know, I know that. It's for the purpose of shading, so that you use the darker one in certain areas. And that really wasn't very, I don't see a big difference, so I might, only if I can actually find it. Oh, I can. All right, I'm going to grab a silver metallic Sharpie, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with that. And I really am struggling to color neatly here because of how far away I am. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this silver Sharpie, and I'm just going to go over that section in the center. Some books have some metallic something on them. Sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's something else. So I'm good with it. And then maybe, I've got light smoky slate, and I know that's not exactly the right color, but just a little something to color in what's supposed to be the pages here, because I'm pretty sure my crumb cake is out of ink. It's definitely time to order a new one. So just to get these pages looking like something other than the binding of the book, we'll just color those with the smoky slate, the light smoky slate, and that works. And sometimes in books, the edges of the pages are gold too, depending on if it's a fancy book or an older book or whatever. But I can't find my gold Sharpie. It's a story of my life, the stuff that I can't find, really. All right, so that's that, and we've got those two colors, and what other colors did I use there? Well, I did use Lemon Lime Twist, if I can find it again in here, without making a racket, but I used Bermuda Bay too, so let me see if I can find that. I think that's sitting more on top. That's Summer Splash, I don't want that. Here's Bermuda Bay, okay. So we'll do Bermuda Bay down here, because I need something that's not kind of blue-green in the middle there. I just didn't want to do too much coloring in front of you tonight, because I think most of you know how to color. If anybody really does have an interest in learning more about the blends and how they work, I'd be happy to do a little short video on the blends. But in all honesty, it's one of those practice makes perfect things. You know, the more you do it, the better you get at it, and some people feel a need to do all kinds of blending and all kinds of whatever, and some people just color like they're coloring in a coloring book, and that's okay too. Whichever works for you is just fine. So now I'll color those little lines in the book with a darker Bermuda Bay, and then maybe something yellow. Alright, so maybe some Daffodil Delight would be good on there. And let's see, I think I'll go with the dark. Okay, so there we go, there's the inside. And there is a stamp. Oh, I wish I did have my gold now, because I would use it for something. There's a stamp in the set also that says, you're a solid whatever, and it's got stars. So it's almost like you're rating the book, like you would rate a book on a book review site or something. So this is just kind of letting them know that you think that they are special. And I'm going to go back to the smoky slate for that. No, you know what? Let's do Night of Navy. That would make sense, huh? Let's do Night of Navy. Okay. So I'm going to put that kind of right above the books. I have no idea if that's straight or not because I couldn't see what I was doing, and wow, it kind of is, isn't it? All right, that was really just an accident, just so you know. All right, and well, let's see. This one is not gold, I don't think. I think it's bronze. Does it say? It says metallic bronze. Okay, so we're going to give them bronze stars instead of gold stars. How's that? Was the bronze stars a military thing, right? It's for bravery, or well, I should really know that, shouldn't I? All right, so again, I can't see comments unless I keep standing up because I can't see the comments on my iPad, and I don't know why. When I try to reduce the size of it so I can see the comments, then sometimes the whole thing goes away, and that's kind of scary, so I don't like to mess with it. And if I find the gold Sharpie, I can always go over the bronze with the gold, but I don't think it's necessary. All they really care about is that they got 5 stars. I don't think they care what color they are. If you're giving it to an adult. If you're giving it to a kid, they'd probably want the gold stars. And that's the other thing, is this could make a very cute kids card, you know, using all primary colors and things like that. And it could be a birthday card, it could be like a good report card, you know what I mean? Giving them a card maybe with a gift card in it or something like that for getting a really good report card. I don't know, we're not supposed to bribe them, right? But, you know, sometimes it works. Okay, so now this goes on the inside. Okay, and that is card number 1. And I think, sorry for all the noise, the glass mat is not a quiet thing I'm finding. Okay, so I think that's really pretty. Cute and pretty all at the same time. So that is card number 1. Let me see if I can put this someplace where I'll be able to find it at the end when I like to show you all the cards at once. Imagine that. Okay, I can get rid of this paper now. And here is the next one. And I'm truly hoping that I'll be able to remember what this card was supposed to look like, because it was a while ago. Okay, if I'm not mistaken, yes. So this is the card that kind of comes with a bonus. All right, and I'll actually just go ahead and show you the bonus first. So here is the bonus. The bonus is a bookmark. All right, and what I did to make that bookmark was I took some pecan pie paper, cut it into these little itty bitty strips. Well, before I cut it, I ran a piece of it through the Timber 3D embossing folder, which is in the annual catalog and will more than likely be retiring, but I can't predict, I don't know for sure. And then I put it on so it kind of looks like a wooden shelf, like a bookshelf, okay? And I'll see if I can hold that up. I always hold it to the wrong spot so that you can see, yeah, there you go. So you can see the embossing, right? And you can see my hand and all the lines in my hand. Any palm readers out there? Okay, so there you go. Now, I chose not to color them. You notice the little glasses? That is such a cute little feature. Such a cute little feature. I did notice that some other companies that made book stamps had really cute things, like they had some a cat, and they had some plants. So I did get out that one stamp set that we have currently that has plants, but the plants were way too big. They'd be like, you know, they wouldn't even fit on the shelf. So I couldn't do that, but I did get out the welcome something or other. I can't stand it when I can't find things that are right under my nose. But that stamp set that was like in the holiday catalog 2 years ago that carried over to the annual catalog this year, it has a very small cat stamp and a die that cuts out the cat. And I thought it would be kind of cute to have a cat sitting on the shelf, and that cat was small enough to do that. So I'll find it eventually. You know what, I probably took it out to my Big Shot, which is not my Big Shot, oh my goodness, my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. It's been years since I had a Big Shot. Oh, here it is. I thought I took it out there because I was going to try to stamp it. So here's the cat, and that's the actual size of the cat. So it's pretty small, and there is a die right here that cuts it out. So I thought that would be cute. So maybe I'll make one of those. If you still have the Cactus Cuties stamp set with the little cactus and succulents, I think those pots might be small enough to fit like on top of some of these books, so that the eyeglasses there are a totally separate stamp. Okay, so I stamped the eyeglasses on top of the book, so I could put just as easily, there they are, they're tiny. I could just as easily put the, I'm frozen again because he thinks I'm talking to him again. Cancel. He's so stubborn. Okay, so, I'm sorry, just really gets on my nerves. Anyway, so you could put a flower on there, you could put a cat on there, you could put a plant on there. The glasses are really cute for sure. So that's that, all right, that's what I used. And like I said, it comes with just a few dies, all right? So I should probably tell you some other things. So I used some very retired, oh my gosh, Misty Moonlight ribbon. And then Stampin' Up! Used to make a stamp or a stapler just like this, and I don't know if it was made for them by the same company that makes this one. All I know is that it was obviously a very well-made stapler, because I see people still using it now, and I think it's been retired for like 20 years. I could be a little off on that, but I don't know. This is called the Tim Holtz Ideology Tiny Attacher, and you can find it on Amazon, you can find it at Sizzix or Tim Holtz's site, and it staples itty-bitty tiny staples, hence the name Tiny Attacher. And it comes in handy for a lot of things, and I personally don't mind seeing a staple on something like this. So because I didn't have the kind of hole punch that I wanted to run the ribbon through, I just put it on and I stapled it. So this is a bookmark. So that's sort of the bonus, but that's not what this particular card is all about. Okay, so what this particular card is all about, for Designer Series paper, I used this set from the annual catalog, which is part of the Full of Life suite, and it's on, I didn't write the page number, but here's the information about the bundle. If you want the whole bundle, I think I just got the paper, and it's in the annual catalog. All right, so I used that, and I used blueberry bushel paper, because we don't have, or at least I don't have, any blueberry bushel ribbon. So. And then I used the basic gray to stamp those, and again, you could certainly color them in. I just decided not to. I thought it might also be interesting looking to color 1 or 2 books in each stack. So this is the same stack, but here it's standing up. Here I've got the bigger one laying down. You know, then there's a smaller one with just 2. So the stamp set's pretty versatile in that respect. And then I also stamped this from the Library of and put my name on it, and I'm going to put that in one of my journals that I thought I brought in here too, but I don't think I did. Alrighty, so this card has kind of a trick component to it. So we have our regular card base that we always have, that is 8.5 by 5 and, I was going to say 5.5, I don't think that's right, by 5 1/4, folded in half at 4 1/4. Alright, we've also got this, which can go on the back of the bookmark, and we can do that as well. And this is going to go here, but before any of that we have to do some stamping. So this is going to be a little pocket for the bookmark. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to take maybe more than one of the more than one of the stamps, the book stamps. I'm really having trouble with my words today, I tell you. This is what I always say to people, I promise I haven't had a stroke, but maybe I had a mini one and I just don't know yet. I don't know. I shouldn't say that, right? I shouldn't joke around because it could happen. It could happen. So I'm going to put all of these on a block. I haven't really decided yet if I'm going to use them all, but I'm going to give it a shot. These little blocks, by the way, the A blocks, Stampin' Up! Stopped making them after they did a big survey. Hey, Amy, how are you? I had to stand up and hang on to my chair to say hello to Amy. They did a big survey of all the demonstrators about which blocks they used, and apparently I'm in the minority because I said I love these, and I have at least, when they announced that they were getting rid of them, I bought like 4 of them, so I've got a bunch, and we certainly use them a lot in my classes. Okay, so I'm going to take the blueberry ink, blueberry bushel, oh my gosh, and I'm going to just tone on tone, just kind of stamp these around on this piece of paper here. Okay, just kind of here, there, and everywhere. I kind of missed that one, oh well. And then, I don't think I'm going to use the really big one, because I think it's just going to take up too much room. So for some of these, I'll stamp them standing up. And maybe for some, I'll stamp them laying down. And then I'll kind of go back to this small one and do some filling in. I do have a Micron, I love my Sakura Micron pens. They're fine tip pens. And I have one in a color very similar to this. And I can actually use that to fill in that oops. Turn that around. I want to have room for one more of these somewhere. Let me see if I can squeeze that in, maybe laying down over here. And it could go off the edge too. Yeah, that works. All right. And then just kind of want them going in different directions, and I want it looking kind of random. Ugh, messed that one up too. All right, I'm just going to kind of go over the top of it with that one. Nobody's going to care. All right, so that's just to give it a little something, something. It looks dark now. When it dries, it'll be more tone on tone. It'll look just a little bit lighter. All right, so this is going to go over here. What I wanted to do, I may have to trim this a bit, so I'm going to put this one on first. And this has Blueberry Bushel in it, along with a bunch of other colors, and I just love this paper. Either side would be great. It's very happy. This side reminds me of a watercolor palette, which is why I like it, but then this one reminds me of a watercolor painting. So, again, if you get this paper, you do you, whatever you like. You could also do a floral. I thought, again, this one might be kind of fun if you were giving this to a kid. Kind of bright. I didn't want to go froofy because I used the flowers on the other card. So I thought I'd stay away from froofy. Right, we're going to put that down there. And then, I wanted this to like kind of butt right up against that. So I think, I'm trying to decide which would be the best place to cut it from. I think probably here. I could be wrong. It doesn't go all the way to the top. I cut it at an angle so that it didn't go all the way to the top. You could have it go up to the top though and meet the corner. I think I'm going to have to go that way because I want to butt up against that flat edge up there. And I think I'd rather take off a little too little to start with and then kind of take off a little bit more if needed. Nope, that did the trick. That is perfect. Whew. Okay, so now I just have to remind myself that this is supposed to be a pocket. And what I'm going to do, set that aside for just a second. I'm going to glue this onto this paper here and then trim it. So I know that it's not the right size, just to give it a background and help it match a little. It'll also make it a sturdier bookmark. So that's always nice. Sturdy is always good. Amy's husband had a birthday the other day, and I meant to get on Facebook and say happy birthday, and I know this will be hard for you to believe, but I got distracted and I don't think I ever did. Maybe I did, but I don't think I did. So please tell Jim that I said happy birthday, will you? Okay. This is the baby cutter that Stampin' Up! Gave out one year as a joining incentive. And I know people love it. They have something very, very similar to it that you can get on Amazon. All right, so I want to have that under there so that it's kind of aware of the thickness it needs to have, if that makes any sense at all. But I want to keep my glue. Obviously, I don't want to put any glue on top, so I put my hand there to remind me. I want a thin bead of glue, and I want it really close to the edge because I'm cutting it a little bit close. Oh, I'm not on camera. Okay, there we go. Not that you don't know how to use glue, because I know you do. Oh, that one wasn't too close to the edge, but that's at the bottom, so it should be okay. I kind of like to have that in there when I put it down, but I'm a little nervous about it. I'm just going to bring it up a little bit higher, though. So, let's see. And then I want that to be right up against the edge. So I'm going to make sure that that is, and right now it is definitely not. Hang on. Okay. And obviously I do not want to glue the bookmark into the little pocket here. That would be bad. Alright, I think I'm going to take my bone folder and just really press that down. Because it's not a lot of glue, but once it catches, it's good. I'm just giving it a good rub. Okay, this one I really kind of haven't decided what I want to do with it in terms of who I might give it to. No, I really can't trim it anymore with the blue on there, and it certainly looks like there's enough room there. I think it just needs a little more time to catch. It'll probably be a tight fit, but I think it'll work. So we're going to need a liner on the inside, and I did have those here too, but you know, who knows? There they are. Imagine me putting them in a logical place. I think these are a quarter sheet of paper, and they're not actually cut down yet to card size. They look a little bit too big. So I think what I would do here is use some type of a tag and have it either just all white or maybe with a blue backing, just like I backed that, and put the sentiment in there. Whether I decide that it's a birthday card or a thinking of you card or whatever, you know, I haven't decided yet. So I'm just not going to put anything on there yet. I'm having a hard time getting this to go all the way in, so I may have to do some trimming with that. It was definitely the right height to start with, because obviously if that's hanging out, that won't go in our envelope. So I may need to do some card surgery. I'm very good at card surgery, no problem there. So we will just cut this down to 4 by 5 1/4, which is kind of a standard card liner, card layer size. There are lots of other sizes, but that's a standard one. Up above the top in the group, there's a little tab that says Files, and if you click on Files, you will find that I have a little tool in there to show you how to cut the different size layers in 1/4 inch increments, I believe. But you can also do 1/8 of an inch. And sometimes I do those just because they work out better for what I'm doing. So we're going to glue that on there, and I'll take a risk with stamping on it later. Usually once the glue is dry, if you've only used a normal minimal amount of glue and there are no big lumps in there, no lumps and bumps, then you should be able to stamp on it. But obviously if you make a mistake, then you're kind of stuck. But we don't make mistakes, right? Not us. So it's not a problem. Okay, so without the details, that is card number 2 with the little bonus bookmark. Alrighty. Card number 3. Card number 3, where are you? Oh, I see you. Okay. My table at home is probably almost twice the length of this table here, and maybe 1.5 times the size in depth. So I really don't have places to do things. Last year, or no, not last year, the year before, I worked at the dining room table, but then I found that I just never got it cleaned up, and so basically I was at the dining room table and for this, and I couldn't eat at the dining room table, so I didn't like that because I do like to eat there. All right, so, oh, you know what I did want to show you though? Before I move on to card number 3, the other dies, just so that you understand. So there are no dies that cut out those stacks of books. There's a die that cuts out this book. I did one in gold and I did one in boho blue just because that's what I had on my desk for scraps. And this little weird thing here, this die that everybody was saying, what the heck is that die right here? This die, there's a delay, sorry. This little die is actually supposed to be the side of the book as you're looking at it and you're seeing pages. Okay, so I don't know if they would really be that white, but that's the idea. You glue that on, and then you've got a visual of the pages in your book, which is really, talk about detail. It's very interesting. You know, I don't know that I would have thought about that or thought that there was anything wrong with this book just the way it was, but they wanted the details of the pages there. So look how cool that is. I don't know if I want a white ones on the gold, but again, there it is, so you can see what that looks like. And then there is this die, which is super tiny, and this die is a banner. It's just a banner. So if you wanted to make a tassel, let's say, on your bookend, and you didn't want to use a ribbon like I did, or a fabric tassel, you could actually just take 2 of these, or more if you wanted, and glue them up at the top of your bookmark, or on your card someplace. So I thought that was just too stinking cute. And then the one remaining die that I didn't take out and use, this one here, literally cuts out a hole for you for that tassel, or that, not tassel, but banner, whatever you want to call it. So that's, talk about attention to detail, right? I'm going to throw these right in here because dies this small give me a stomachache. They make me very nervous. I've accidentally put dies in the recycling bin, and I've been very lucky. I think I've only lost 1 die in all the years I've been using Stampin' Up! Products, even way before I was a demonstrator. And now I've got this missing stamp, and I'm hoping that it really isn't missing. So I just wanted to show that to you. Those were just a couple more things that you could do with those dies. Okay, so now this card, we have a thick white, oh, and then the other thing I did want to show you real quick was that if I wanted to, I could use this. It's kind of the wrong color. I could use that and maybe find a sentiment that would fit in there and use that as my label. Okay, so that's another thing you could do with it. All right, we've got a basic thick white card base, and I'm going in this direction for no particular reason at all other than I had that, it was already going in that direction. And then we have boho blue that I think I didn't cut quite right, but it's okay, and that's going to be a layer there. And then we have this white that is going to be a layer here where we're just going to see a thin amount of that boho blue, okay? But before we get to doing any of that, what we are going to do, I don't think I want to use this dish because I will hate myself if it gets stained. So let's just take a block, and I'm going to take some of the boho blue re-inker, which reminds me, oh no, I'm sorry, it's not boho blue, it's Azure Afternoon, sorry. But boho blue, moody mauve, wild wheat, pebble path, and copper clay are the outgoing in colors. And what that means is that when the new catalog comes out in April or May, I guess it's May, when that new catalog comes out, these colors will go away. If you have those inks, the ink pads, and you did not buy the re-inkers, get them soon, because they go like hotcakes as soon as everybody really realizes what's happening. You know, when they realize that it's time for them to go, they disappear fast. All right, I'm going to set that aside for a second because I almost missed a step, and that is that this Elements of Texture stamp set, which I just love, has this one stamp right here that's just, I don't even know, I think I see the word spring maybe, but they're all like partial words. It looks like it's part of a poem possibly, but it's, you know, kind of like worn, like the pages were worn, so you can't really read everything that's on there. It's a red rubber stamp, and I love my red rubber stamps. Crash, sorry. And what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take, oh no, I don't want basic gray. Where did the gray granite go? I'm going to use the gray granite, and I'm going to, hang on, because I need a piece of scrap paper. Somebody needs to tell me if all of that stuff is really loud when I hit things. I try not to let my rings hit it. How loud is this glass mat really? Is it really annoying or not so much? Tell me the truth. Okay, and since there are sort of words that you can sort of read, I'm going to try to get it right side up. And what I'm going to do is just stamp this, just kind of all over there. I may even do some, you know, now I wish I had done that before, but some stamping off so that it's not quite so dark every time. And we're not going to see some of that anyway, so I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. See if I can fill in some of the spots where there's a little white showing. Obviously, you're not going to be able to read a word of that anyway. So there we go. I know it looks a little messy, but it's fine. Then we're going to do a little, speaking of messy, we're going to do a little messy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my spritzer. I want the one with water in it though, not alcohol. That's alcohol. Don't want alcohol. That's water, and I don't know why it looks pink, but I'm hoping it won't hurt anything. And I'm going to spritz, wait a second. I have a piece of deli paper here. I do use a lot of deli paper in some of my artwork. It's not exactly like wax paper. It's called dry waxed paper. It's what they wrap your sandwiches in, you know, at the deli. Hence the name deli wrap, right? I'm going to spritz that. Just get a little bit wet. I always hesitate when I spritz because I'm afraid I'm going to make a mess. Oh, it's not me that's hesitating this time. It's the spritzer. Okay, and it is pink, and I don't know why it's pink. So let's move on to one of the water painters. Now, you can do this technique with the water painters, or you can use what's called a fan brush. And I happen to have one of those, and I kind of prefer it. Sometimes with a regular paintbrush, you end up with some really heavy splatters. So this is called a fan brush right here, okay? Because, you know, it's shaped kind of like a fan. So a fan brush is really kind of meant for splattering. So we're just going to touch it to the ink a little bit, get a little bit on it, and I'm going to hit my water painter. I could hit my finger for that matter. You can hit anything you want. Well, not anything, but just like that. You could hit a pencil. And now I do kind of want some bigger splatters, so I'm going to kind of let it hit a little bit. Sorry. All right, so I don't know if I don't want to overdo it too much, but I do kind of like the splattery look. I'm certainly making one heck of a mess here. All right, I gotta find something to, I think I'll just wrap the entire brush and the block and this, the whole messy mess. I'm just gonna wrap it all up in my deli paper, wipe that up with the deli paper, and set it on the floor. Okay, now I need to look at my fingers. Make sure that my fingers are not blue, and that looks a little blue to me, so we'll wipe that up. Alright, so even though your fingers are stained and you can still see the color on your finger, at this point it won't come off anymore. Okay, I say that with real authority. Seriously. Alright, so we've got both of those things. We've got the splatter, we've got the text, okay? And now what I want to do is take these books. I'm going to let that sit and dry. I may have to hit it with the heat gun. I'm going to take these books, and again, I should have colored these first, and I did not. So I'm not going to color them right now in front of you because we're getting to that time. But I have to cut them. I don't have much of a choice for that. But, you know, they're mostly straight lines. So, you know, straight line there, straight line there, and then a little ziggy-zaggy. And remember, you hold the scissors still and you move the paper. So the scissors are in your dominant hand, the paper is in your non-dominant hand, and as you're closing the scissor down, you're actually turning the paper around. You're not doing this kind of cutting. That kind of cutting ends up, you know, kind of looking like a kindergartner did it. Or like my son did it. And he's not a kindergartner. Mrs. Hinkle, may she rest in peace, her kindergarten teacher told me that he really had very poor scissor skills. And he did not disagree. I've probably told that story before, but I love telling it again in the hopes that someday he'll hear me saying it. Okay, so it doesn't take long. It will certainly take longer to color it. And I will certainly color it before I take pictures. And speaking of pictures, I have been ridiculously bad, like no excuse bad at posting pictures. And I don't know why I've taken them. I've got them on my camera, I've got them on my computer, they're just ready to go, and I have not posted them. I mean, I'm a little busy, but I'm not crazy busy. So again, just straight line, and then another straight line, and then just a little bit of the in and out. And you don't even have to like be super careful as long as you're not hacking the books in half or hacking off the ends of the books. You don't have to be perfect with this. You truly don't. If perfection was required, I'd find another hobby. Seriously. Okay, and then another straight line, and then a little more ziggy-zaggy. That's a highly technical crafting term, in case you're wondering. Zhuzhing, ziggy-zaggy, fussy cutting, you know, all technical terms. Can you hear the train? I never know what people can really hear. I can hear it. We're like almost close enough to the railroad tracks for it to vibrate that place, but not quite. Okay, so pretend that these are colored in lovely colors. That is still wet, so pardon me, but I'm going to give it a blast with the heat gun. So, can anybody guess what kind of a card this is going to be? So, because that's a little wonky, I'm going to want to get that glued onto here sooner than later. Just because it'll be easier to manage without the little wrinkle in it. Try that again. Perfect. You may have noticed I just have some DSP and some tape wrapped around the glue, and I make a little bump that I can stick the pin in so that I can always unclog the glue when necessary. It comes in very handy in class as well. So let me know if you've ever heard of this idea of blind date with a book. I think it's becoming pretty popular. My daughter actually bought maybe 2 of them, I can't remember, in Ireland. So that was pretty interesting. Okay, I have no idea at all anymore which way is right side up. I think that's it. And again, I don't know that it matters. Okay, today was a day when I carried my water around with me but didn't actually drink it. Totally useless to do that, by the way. Carry your water and not drink it. All right, so anyway, let me know if you've heard of Blind Date with a Book, and let me know if you think you might be interested in giving that a try. You know what I'm going to do, because I'm going to want to pull them off to color them. So I'm going to put them down with a glue dot. Not that glue dots aren't permanent, because they are, but I'll be able to pull it up, and it will rip the paper, but it will only rip the paper in the one spot in the center, so it should be fine, she says. Should be fine. Okay. Now, I think I might almost like to have another one on top, okay? But we'll skip that for now, and then let me show you 2 ideas for what could be done with this card. We should probably also put it on the base. That would be a good idea. So let's do that. So, I mean, I can tell you a little bit about Blind Date with a Book in case you haven't heard of it. So the idea is that you tell the person who you're buying it from, or who's gifting it to you, or making it for you, or whatever the case may be, what kind of things you like to read. So you might say, I like fantasy books, or I like romance novels, or I like James Patterson, but I've already read his first 10 books. All right, so now this person has kind of a clue. So you still don't know whether you're going to get a James Patterson book or a fantasy book or a romance novel. You're not sure. So it gets wrapped up and you don't get to see what's in it, and you don't know what's coming. And then sometimes they throw some cute little gifties in there, like they'll throw some stickers in there, or maybe a notepad or something like that. And I would do the same, maybe a bookmark as well. And when you get it, it's a surprise. So it's like a blind date, right? Only it can't be rude. It can't be obnoxious. You know, think about it. It might be a book that you end up not loving, but the person does their best to get you something that they think you will like. And then when you're done with it, you can gift it to somebody else. So that's always good too. All right, so we have this sentiment here in the So Sincere stamp set, which is in the annual catalog. Sentiment that says, so proud of you. So hard to find these when they look so different in here than they do on the cover. So proud of you. There it is. Okay. So obviously not a birthday card, right? Because you don't tell somebody on their birthday that you're proud of them. Well, you could, I guess, but typically not. So we have so proud of you. All right. And I could stamp that right on here if I wanted to. And then, if I had brought it with me, but I didn't because it's the wrong time of year, I would actually use the graduation set. I think this is too small because a mortar board would be bigger than the books, I think, wouldn't they? Or at least as big as the books. So here, picture you've got maybe one more stack there, okay? And then on top of them all, you've got this little tiny mortar board. And you would find and again, I'm not too worried about it right now, but I would find some type of a gem that holds the tassel on. And then, oh, that reminds me, I forgot about one other die in there. So the other die that's in there is, I must have put it away, gosh, I hope I didn't lose it already, is this die that makes a tassel. So you want to kind of zhuzh it a little bit with your bone folder to break down the fiber so that you can roll it. And then you could take something, I was even thinking like one of those real thin wooden skewers that you use for cooking, or even a toothpick. Something small and round that you could wrap it around just to kind of give it the shape that you wanted, because I don't think that, a pen or a pencil or anything like that would be too big. So you're just going to have to imagine, and it might, if you don't want it to be too bulky, you might not actually use the whole thing, you might cut it, and then you could zhuzh it out a little bit, and you could run some string through it, and then you've got a tassel. I mean, how cute is that? So again, attention to detail. Yay, Stampin' Up! All right, so this is going to be a graduation card. So I don't think I have any graduation sentiments, so I went with So Proud of You. It could be for something else as well, but again, perfect for somebody graduating from school, whether it's 8th grade graduation, 6th grade graduation. I think if it were going to be kindergarten or preschool graduation, I would make it much more cutesy. And if it was for a female, I would probably use Pretty in Pink instead of the Azure Afternoon. And that is your card. What am I trying to say? And where is it? Azure Afternoon. I think Azure Afternoon might not be dark enough. I think I'm going to try it. If I don't like it, then I'll use a label. So I'm going to use the Blueberry Bushel. I don't know if I'm going to like that or not, but you know, we'll give it a shot. I'm going to use the Blueberry Bushel, and I'm just going to put that, I think, right down here. I don't think it's straight anyway, but maybe. Yeah, it's a little cockeyed, but not terrible. All right, and it certainly does show. So that's one of the other things that sometimes we forget about, is that we can stamp on DSP, we can stamp on something that's been stamped with something else, as long as you use the darker one on top. And then there's also this stamp set, Pocket Thoughts. And Pocket Thoughts has a diploma. It's kind of big, but I thought you could color that lightly. You could cut that out, and maybe you could sort of lean it against the books, but it would look like a giant diploma. So whichever you think is better, or maybe you choose to use neither one and do something different. So I'll finish up this card. I've got to make that bigger for sure, because it would be, you know, I think it would be bigger. All right, but that is the graduation card, and then inside I would probably stamp some more books, and so you've got the idea there. All right, so those are our 3 cards for tonight with the bonus bookmark. This one, which would be a graduation card, but doesn't have to be. That's just what I chose to make it. Then this one, which I just think is adorable. I love that paper. All right, and again, I'm going to stamp some more books on the inside. And then, let's see, I'm not in camera here. Where are we going? There we go. And then this one, which I just think is really pretty. This might be my favorite. Although I do love making messes with splatter. So that one was more fun to make, let's put it that way. All right, so there they are. And who knows, tomorrow might be the day that I post these pictures, because I've got to do it sooner or later, right? All right, you have a great evening. Thank you for watching. If you catch me on the replay, don't forget to say hello and tell me where you're from, especially if you're someone I don't hear from too often. Debbie Marshall, I really appreciate you popping in once in a while. I know you're not local, and it's always nice seeing some people from other places. And everybody have a great week. Take care.